Hey everyone, I wanted to make a quick side note. As I was editing my video for YouTube, I did have a lot of issues transferring my video files onto my computer. So I will not be having a physical video today with today's podcast. It will be a photo along with captions that go along with the podcast that people can use if they are deaf or hard of hearing, or they just want some extra captions, as I kind of do sometimes in my life as well. But I apologize for that. I will be trying to get videos up soon, though I do mention in my podcast today that I won't always be doing videos because my camera I mostly use for my photography. I am still in school and I use it primarily for my courses that I'm doing. So I may not always have the time to edit video, but I will always have the time to fix up the audio and make it perfect for the podcast that comes in every week. So without further ado, here's my podcast and I hope you enjoy. Hello everyone, welcome to Sweet and Sour Monologues. I am Alyssa, your host, and as I call myself, your monologue queen. I call myself this because if you know me, I can get started on any subject and talk about it for hours. My boyfriend says you don't even have to get me started on a subject; just talk about one thing for 2 seconds, and I'm off. And I kind of believe him. So first of all, Happy Pride Month. Yesterday it was Global Pride on YouTube. I do wish I had gone to my first Pride parade because I just came out this month as being bisexual. If any family members are watching this and they don't agree with that, we're gonna have some awkward conversations later. I did come out on the internet, but they don't really go on the internet, so hopefully those things don't come up in my life. We'll see how that goes. Anybody who is watching this, I hope you accept that about me, but if not, sorry. So I did want to do maybe a Pride podcast, but I decided against it because I did want to talk about some things that have come up this past week. And I also feel like putting a Pride podcast out there is good to do outside of the month of June, because although it is Pride Month and it's a good thing to show our pride for who we are in the LGBTQI plus community, I just think that we also can just show it outside, which is always a positive thing because we're always proud of who we are outside of the month of June. It's a good time for awareness, but I think we can always make people aware no matter what month of the year it is. So I will do a little something about Pride and LGBTQIA. There's a lot of letters. I'm sorry. I try to get through them real fast. I'll be trying to do a podcast about that later. We'll see how that goes. If you do see that some of this is edited, I promise I'm not trying to edit out any of the words I'm saying. I just have a lot of interruptions. And today it's a rainy day, so I apologize if you can hear the rain. I do live in a very thin-walled apartment. And I also have very loud, noisy neighbors. So we'll see how this goes. Hopefully you don't hear all that today, but I just want to talk about a little bit what this podcast is going to be about. And then I know you see the title about cancel culture, and we are going to talk about that today because that's kind of what I wanted to start with from all the things that came up on the internet today. So just to start out, the title of my podcast is called Sweet and Sour Monologues because I can talk for hours about things, but sometimes they're good things, sometimes they're bad things. And that's just part of life. We kind of just go through the good and the bad. We all talk about them. It's good to have good conversations about good things, but it's also good to have conversations about uncomfortable bad things because we learn from the bad. We learn from the good, but we also learn from the bad. And I think that's why I wanted to call this Sweet and Sour Monologues. That way we can start conversations. And I hope in the future, if I were to build a small community on here, we can have those conversations. Hopefully nobody comes on here and is just trying to run their mouth, but I know it's going to happen. People do that all the time. I am in no way an expert in any way, but even if I was an expert of something, I really think even with facts that experts give, they also give their opinions, and it doesn't make them right just because they're experts in those fields or something. I just want to emphasize that these are my opinions and my experiences, and I'm here to ask you guys to bring forth your opinions and your experiences, hopefully in a positive way or in a way that says, look, that's not my experience, but I just don't think this is right, or whatever. And we can talk about those. I can continue conversations on past podcasts. We can mention them in future podcasts, or we can create a whole new podcast with things like if I were to get like multiple responses about something that I mentioned or something that I talked about in a full podcast. I want to bring forth uncomfortable things, but I also want to bring forth positive things. Just think about if you are watching or listening to this, that you want to join in my conversation and you want to help me learn, you want to help others learn, and maybe want to learn yourself from those people or from what my experiences were. We can all learn something from each other. I think we use what we know, and what we don't know, we learn from others. The other thing is I really want this to be as inclusive as possible. And I say that because I can't relate to everybody. Just to put labels on it, I'm a female, I'm Latina, and I'm a plus size woman, and I'm also bisexual. Obviously, with those small things that are about me, I just can't relate to everybody. I can't relate to a Black person. I can't relate to a white person, an Asian person. I can barely relate to a Latin person. You know, I think there's a huge divide, and I'll get into this on another podcast for sure, but there's a huge divide between a lot of Latinx people, whether they grew up in certain communities versus others, whether they grew up in the US or outside of the country, and whether they're immigrants or not, or their family are immigrants, etc. There's so many categories, but I will get into that. But I just think I can barely relate to that. So that's why I want to do this. I want this to hopefully be a platform for people to feel comfortable and included. And the other issue is deaf and hard of hearing people can't listen to these, obviously. So I am going to be putting these on YouTube with captions of my own, whether I'm on camera or not, because I am still a student. And as I get back into the fall semester, I'm going to be a lot busier, and I will be using the only camera I have for those classes. So I may not always be able to set things up, but I will always have this available for captions for people who cannot hear to join in the conversation themselves. I want to include everybody as much as possible, and that includes the deaf community. I want to be open to anybody's opinions and anybody's experiences, and I want to be able to get into subjects I know nothing about, and maybe I can bring some people on later on who have been through those things and that I just want to learn about myself and hopefully spread awareness about those things. What that will be in the future, we will see. Because I think as we move forward with what's going on now in the world, I think Black Lives Matter is a huge step in history right now, and we can all benefit from it, whether we're Black or not. And I just want to show that I'm here to support anybody, no matter who they are, as long as they are spreading goodness, happiness, peaceful positiveness, and not trying to go out and hurt anybody for their own selfish reasons. I think that's what I want my channel to provide, is positiveness, but also awareness and education, and helping people just realize what's going on in the world. So we're going to go and talk about the subject I want to talk about today, which is canceling cancel culture. I think cancel culture was initially supposed to start out as something that was supposed to be canceling out the negative, canceling out the bullying online, canceling out racism and disgusting actions by people online, and especially people who are really well known online. I think it's good that people want those people to take accountability for their actions and their words, whether they were in the past or really recent. However, I think it's become a huge issue because it's turned to bullying all on its own. I think it's just become a fancy phrase for bullying at this point. A lot of the times when I see things like people wanting to take accountability for their past, they speak of it in a way, one, as if they've never grown from that past, as if they are still tied to that past and they are still that way, or they agree with the awful thing that they put out there, or that they've never grown as a person and that they're just completely stuck there, and that's a part of who they are now. I think it's a part of their history and what they've done in the past, and it should be addressed and it should be apologized for, no matter who they are and what it is. But I don't think it should be tied to who they are now and what they are trying to do now. I will bring forth one, and I know this is going to be very controversial for some people because a lot of people do not like this person, but Jeffree Star was the first one that I came across. Somebody brought forth like I apologize if this is wrong because I couldn't find the tweet for some reason. I think I didn't want to 100% search for it, and that might be an awful thing to do for me, but he did a long time ago create like some sort of campaign, whether it was supposed to be real or not. I think it was for some idea that he wanted to create like a lipstick line, but he never put it out, and it was called Lipstick Nazi. And then there was also a photograph, I think, for the same thing where he showed his arm cut. It was a self-harm photograph. It was probably not real, like he didn't actually cut himself, but in the end, it can be awful and triggering for people to see. And I think for the people who showed it blurred, thank you for doing that. But the people who showed it completely unedited, uncensored, I just think, first of all, we have to realize that if you're going to be showing that, just know that you can actually trigger people who are dealing with self-harm issues, depression, and anxiety. I know we're trying to make people take accountability for their things in the past, but that just realize what you're posting out there, even if it's not you promoting it. In a way, you are promoting it because you're not censoring it for people, and you could just tell them this is what's censored is a cut on his arm, and it's not okay. I don't think it's right that he created that because it's awful, it's triggering for people, and it's not good to glorify self-harm or suicide in any way. Absolutely not. However, he has addressed in the past in his videos, in his series with Shane Dawson, he has addressed that back then he was a very, very angry and very depressed person. He has addressed that he has cuts all over his body that he did because of self-harm issues. And that's the reason that he did tattoos all over his body, because he no longer wanted to see those scars. He didn't want anyone else to see those scars. But he did become vulnerable in that moment and tell us and show us those scars. I don't think it's right that he put that out there. If he wanted to create it for himself, that's one thing. I think as artists, any kind of artist, when we are dealing with anger and depression, we put something out as a way of therapy or as a way of just wanting to address it for ourselves. But if it's a graphic thing like he did, I don't think it's right that he put it out there. I can relate with the depression and with the anger, but personally, I've never made anything that angry. But if that's what he wanted to do, I think okay, but it's not okay that he wanted to put that out publicly. Another YouTuber that came out this week with an accountability issue was Shane Dawson. He made a video recently called Taking Accountability. He took accountability for his racist jokes and his racist skits that he did in the past. I personally didn't know about those because I kind of more recently started watching him, especially when he started doing his conspiracy videos. I don't know if he's been doing this forever, but I got into conspiracies, and so I started watching him. And I think he's just a goofball, and I can relate to him a lot. But I didn't watch him back then when he did those videos. So I just now learned about those too. And I am glad he took accountability for those. And he was completely sad and upset that he hurt or offended anybody. And I'm glad he did so. But I don't think he's a racist. And he has addressed millions and millions of times that he has grown a lot since starting on YouTube. And he's had a lot of issues with addiction and maybe with some depression, I think. I'm not exactly sure. But also with some weight issues and some eating disorders, I believe. Just things that have really put a toll on him. And I just think people who are immediately like, he's a racist because he did this back then. Maybe before he took accountability for it, okay, somebody can say because he's not, he's a racist. But I think there's still people out there calling him and Jeffrey a racist. I'm so annoyed with it because these people have grown from such an angry and sad place in their lives. They have been hurt by people probably bullying them for their sexuality. I know Jeffrey for sure. I'm not exactly sure about Shane, but I'm sure he's had issues in the past with people not accepting his sexuality, not accepting who he is, and that can take a toll on you for sure. And I'm just over people just associating people's pasts with who they are now. I think people who are immediately tweeting in a rude, angry way, oh, this is totally going to ruin their career. Yes, they're finally over. It's stupid. It's stupid. And one, it's stupid because there's still millions of fans out there who are going to support them. And two, those fans are realizing, yeah, they did stupid shit. It's not okay. We're glad they are saying this was stupid, this was rude, this was awfully offensive. But I'm not that person anymore, and I do apologize. They are realizing they are there to apologize for the rest of their lives about what they did. They have grown and they have moved on from that time in their lives, and they are no longer going to put out disgusting, offensive things like that anymore onto the internet. And I don't want people to bully people into maybe getting off of YouTube, maybe ruining their careers in any way. It's just wrong. It's just wrong because we're meant to grow as people. I want to bring up Jenna now. Jenna Marbles put out a video that was honestly heartbreaking. I have been watching Jenna since middle school. I started watching her in middle school. I took a break from then. I don't think I watched a lot of things on YouTube at that time in high school. And then I got back to watching her videos at the beginning of college. Whenever I was going through a hard time, I would go and watch Jenna's videos along with other people. I would go and watch Jenna's videos the most though, because she made me laugh. She made me smile. And then as her podcast started coming around and I started listening more and more to it, it made me think about the people that Jenna and Julian are and how they try to be as positive and accepting as much as they can in their lives, and they try to make people happy. The problem is you can't make everybody happy. But they did make me happy, and they did make me realize who I am as a person and how much I want to grow like they do, and how much Jenna has grown. Jenna has mentioned before on, I think, the podcast and maybe on her channel at one point, where she used to be like this loud, crazy person on her channel because it was just like a character that she played in order to get people's attention. She wanted her main goal to be for people to laugh and enjoy her videos and enjoy her content. But to get the attention, especially back then when she started, you got to be loud and crazy. And that's still, unfortunately, what gets people their clout, their clickbait, is being loud and crazy and doing outrageous things. And she's changed a lot since then. She has grown up, she has matured a lot, and she realized, that's not just, it's just not me. And I want to create what I want to create now. I want to do what I want to do. But I also feel like after her video this week, she realized how much she wasn't making everyone happy who watched her videos. But I also feel like the people who weren't happy, maybe they don't even watch her videos. They don't even watch, they haven't grown up with her like a lot of us have. And I think that those people were literally just there to be like, I'm going to ruin you. I want to hurt you. I do hate the thought that maybe people are bullying her off her channel because she made a decision to stop making content, at least for now, if not forever. And it hurts. It hurts that because so many of us have found such a light in Jenna and what she puts on the internet, whether it's just a small video of her dogs, or doing some goofy thing in a goofy craft, you know. But I think the decision for her to get off of YouTube for now, I think it's good for her health. And I think it's good for her to take time for herself. She's been doing this for everybody for 10 years. And now I think taking the time for herself is a really good thing. We always need time to ourselves. I always said that if I did something like this, I would need to take care of myself first before I could even bother to do this and maybe take on the role of I will listen to you and your problems kind of thing. And I'm here to do that. Like I said, I'm here to listen and I'm here to talk with you if you're here to listen to me and realize that we all have opinions and experiences that we can share. But I think her decision is a good one, as much as we don't want her to leave, as much as we're sad to see her go right now. I want people to realize that I didn't know about these videos that she showed. I didn't know she did a Nicki Minaj parody, and I didn't know that she did a rap that was very racist towards Asian people. She even mentioned that she did like a slut shaming video when she had an angry moment in her life, and she did put it on private a long time ago before now, but she does know it's not okay, and she addressed it even if people can't see it now or even back then. And then, of course, she likes to be as inclusive as possible to any gender or gender identity or non-identity.